Hi guys, welcome to Bombshells and Blueshells, the podcast spin-off of the website bombshellsandblueshells.com. I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And today for our pre-Christmas episode, we're going to count down our top 5 horror films of 2019. Whoop whoop. Whoop whoop. Very excited. So, it's kind of continuing on from the past couple of years, I think, maybe like 2015 onwards. Really good years for horror. Like, it's a good time to be a horror freak.
I think a good time for movies in general. It's been a very popular year for people going to the cinema. Bucking the trend of the last probably decade, I would say, if not longer.
True, yeah. We've actually had some high grosses and
massive grosses.
People going back to the cinema, but also kind of, again, the streaming sort of element. People not having to go to the cinema to get some amazing films. Like, there's a few that might not be on the top 5 of my list, but definitely are on the list that I'm creating for the website that were either exclusive to streaming services or came out very quickly onto streaming services.
Yeah, I think one of them has certainly got a special mention in mind, but not quite in the top 5.
Some honourable mentions here.
Just one.
Just one. Yeah, it was really hard. Like, it was easy to pick out some of the best horror films. I think the list I've made for the website is top 16, because fuck top 10s, that's,
Yes.
Draw outside the box. Draw outside the lines.
You make your own rules.
I make my own rules.
You don't conform to these standards.
Nah. And I'm sure the 5 people that read it, including my mum, will really appreciate me breaking those rules.
I'm sure they will.
Yep. But yeah, it's hard then to rank them. Like, where do I put you? You're not supposed to have favourite children, but that's what it felt like. It's like, I
have no problem with it. I mean, it did take me forever when I was sat at the pub the other day thinking, let's make sure that you pick films that she's definitely going to have research for, because you have not got time.
You have not researched.
Yeah,
you make it sound like I sit here and that's all I do.
No, but I'm fairly confident they're going to be the same. I'm fairly confident they're going to be the same.
I would like some difference.
I'm really hoping they're going to be the same. Because if you're looking at intellectual and individual insight into these films without any kind of preparation whatsoever,
it's going to be fun.
It's going to be brief.
Brief. That's how I like it. So, just before we get into this, obviously our last fortnight's episode was a big one that took a long time, so we got straight into it. Not so much news and previews, just obviously we've kind of... Have you seen the trailer for Black Christmas?
No, although I did see someone today on Instagram that I follow say it's a very... female fingers up to the patriarchy type film, so I imagine it's you're not gonna like it.
I mean, I fucking hate feminism. But yeah, no, it looks interesting. I understand where people are coming from with the whole it's Black Christmas in name and nothing else, because it doesn't seem to be following the same story of the 2 previous iterations of Black Christmas, like the 70s, and then I think there was like a mid.
Is that the one with the phone in the corridor and there was someone in the loft?
Yeah.
Yep. I remember this.
So much memories. But I am intrigued to see that one. Obviously, it comes out after our list, and not to poop on it already, but I feel like it might get slipped into we may go up to the top 17 horror of the of 2019, but I don't think it was going to ever knock anything off my top 5. I know that's presumptuous, it could be fucking amazing, but I just got a feeling that...
Yeah, I mean, I have not even seen the trailer for it, so I can't comment. I have just remembered a film that we've watched this year that I would probably say is horror and isn't on my list, but may go on it, and I'm fairly confident it's on yours, but I can't remember what it's called, so there we go.
Well, I'm sure it's just after the next thing that I wanted to bring up. We'll have a little break and I will jog some memories. But I just wanted to just kind of anything that you like, the news and previews, but like anything that you wanted to discuss, because I just wanted to bring up how amazing Bone Parish was.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've still not read that.
You've not read it yet. So we went graphic novel hunting, and I do think it's quite new. I think Volume 3's not come out yet.
No, it's Volume 2 at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is obviously the trade back, so like the graphic novel edition instead of the singular comics.
Yeah. Compilation of 6 comics.
Yes, and I have read Volume 1 of Bone Parish, and honestly, it's just beautiful. Like, it's such an interesting little story, so kind of a new drug made from the kind of bones of the deceased that allows you to either live through them or talk to them. So like, obviously you're all commissioning, I want a rock star and I want the greatest sex god that ever lived and blah 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 blah, but it's the whole story around that and things as well, and it's just lots of, I sound like a small child with a colour chart, but the blues and the purples that they use of it, the way they colour it is
blues and purples.
Blues and purples, but it's just got this really kind of gothic-y colour palette while still being a modern story, and yeah, you need to read it. Bone Parish.
I will read it.
I will read it.
I will read it. I'm trying to think of what I've read recently. I spent a lot of time on Gideon Falls, which I'm big into. I'm on Tradeback 3 now, but I have had them individually as well as comics.
That's one I need to do as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Gideon Falls is brilliant.
Didn't you read the new Joe Hill one as well?
Yeah, Basket Full of Heads. I've not read the latest comic in its entirety. I got 2/3 of the way through and then I fell asleep. And that isn't a statement about how good that is or isn't. It's just that I was extremely tired and I was using it as an excuse to fall asleep at the time.
Yeah, you were consistent in that you don't just fall asleep to films, you can also fall asleep sat up reading.
That's right. I mean, many of my top 5 are in fact films that I've fallen asleep in.
That's not great.
I've enjoyed them more as a result of the sleep, I think, in some cases.
Like
because it gives me a reason to go back and watch them again.
Which one was it? Again, I think it was was it Iranian or... the one that we missed
like
at Grimfest. Yeah.
Satan's Slaves? No, that's the other one, isn't it?
That's the other one.
Ooh.
Or it might have been Satan's
Is it
Slaves,
Satan's
actually.
Slaves?
I think it was, because that's one of the few horror films that I've fallen asleep during, and the lucid fucking dreams I had during that because of falling asleep during it. I will not revisit that film, because I think what I saw in my head was more terrifying. I might be a little bit disappointed. I'm pretty sure it was Satan's Slaves.
Satan's Slaves.
Satan's Slaves.
Boom, well done, memory box.
Woo! So,
beat her, 1-0.
So we're gonna just take a quick second just to jog our memories, and then
I've decided that I'm not changing my top 5, irrespective of not being able to remember what that film is called.
Oh, okay, that's fine. We're just going to take a quick second, and then we will be going into our top 5 horror films of 2019. The rulings that I've come up with are rule number 1, you're starting.
That's fine, because let's get this out of the way.
Yep. Rule number 2, if something is on your list that is higher up on my list, we'll discuss it when we come around to it being at the higher point. So if you've got a film at number 5 that's my number 3, we'll discuss it at the number 3 point instead of discussing it before that and probably ending up with like my number 1 being discussed as your number 3, and then I'm just sat here sad.
Fingers crossed for me getting in the right order as well.
Woo! The simplest of organising. The simplest of organising.
I'm really hoping it's going to work out well.
Well, we'll be back in a second with our top 5 horror of 2019. Okay, welcome back. We're going to dive into our top 5, starting with your number 5. What you got?
I have got Ma.
Ma.
Is it on your list?
It is not on my top 5. So how prepared are we?
Just let me take a couple of seconds to open up
Please Google fast. So Ma.
So Ma was a film released earlier this year, starring Octavia Spencer. I remember that much. And a
Oscar nominee,
Octavia Spencer, and pass. I don't know if that is the case.
You keep going.
Presumably for the space rocket thing.
Oscar winner. Boom,
Is it the NASA Women of NASA?
The Help.
Oh, really? That isn't the Women of NASA film, is it?
But she was also in Hidden Figures, which is the Women of NASA film. But yes, so Octavia Spencer stretching out into some weird horror.
Yeah, and I have to say it was very uncomfortable at times. Reasoning behind the horror genre, basically a group of kids who you later find out are related to, or the children of a group of teenagers at the high school when Octavia Spencer was attending the school, who didn't exactly treat her well,
no.
are subsequently subjected to a lot of misdeeds from Miss Octavia Spencer.
From Ma. Party with Ma.
From Ma. For me, it was very unnerving, I think, as you go through the film.
It had a lot of really kind of good moments of suspense, or kind of, it built itself so much that you were like, okay, this woman is a little bit off her kilter, but I still feel sorry for her. Oh no, I don't feel sorry for you anymore. You are mental.
It's very difficult to relate to that kind of character. Certainly from so vindictive, so calculated, and so organised in the approach that she's taken to it, and yet so, I suppose, chaotic at some points as well at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, it felt somewhat structured and disorganised at the same time, resulting in a lot of kind of disaster for the individuals involved, from the kids' point of view, but also from a couple of the parents that particularly did not have anything nice to communicate to her.
There's a hit and run that is intense as anything.
Yes.
There's a blood transfusion /
I suppose member removal?
It's sexual, yeah. And obviously it all links back to what the trauma that Sue-Ann, who is Ma, the trauma she went through, which was intense. Like, what those kids did to her was awful. But there's...
Absolutely, but I suppose ultimately what she was intending to do in the first place was not exactly the most desirable thing at the time.
And there's that element of, it's almost, did she have this plan from the get-go? Was her plan to kill these kids, to do something awful to them? Or was this plan to be so loved by them that she alienated their parents? Like, did she want simple revenge but ended up with, like, crazy person revenge?
Yeah, it's difficult to say, and that's what I mean. It's feels like a structured approach, but with chaos mingled into it as a result of the fact that she really couldn't control what was going to happen from any of the individuals involved. Even to an extent, her own daughter. Yeah,
because that becomes a thing, doesn't it, as well? It's not made it onto my list, unfortunately, but I did enjoy it. It was an interesting, like, when you start describing it, then, like, a maniacal character takes revenge on the kids of their tormentors. I'm like, Freddy Krueger?
Yeah, I mean, less burn victims. Less burn.
Slightly less.
But who was her boss in the thing as well? Because she was brilliant. It's just so off the cuff the entire
callous time. Vet lady was just like, no, it's fine, you just sit there and be fucking useless.
Yeah.
She was great.
You don't worry about it, because she was a great character.
Alison Janney.
That's Alison Janney. I don't know who that is, but I've seen her in a lot of stuff.
That name. Alison Janney. She is in 10 Things I Hate About You. She's the principal who's writing the erotic novel.
Erotic novel. Of course she is.
His bulging
But she was absolutely fantastic in
it was
in
so
Ma.
funny.
I think as much as Octavia Spencer has won an Oscar and is in this,
believe so.
I would say that whatever her name was, what was her name?
Alison Jenny.
Alison Jenny was fantastic in this film.
Yeah.
My favourite character.
I do think that it's worth a watch for a bit of a twist on things, and I think as well it's nice to see without they give her sympathy. They give her that kind of, we can empathise with her to a point, but they also just allow her to be this awful character, which is sometimes rare for like a female villain, like female villainry. Yes, she was wronged and it's all this and all that, but they do allow her to just be a little bit maniacal.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to see what your number 5 is then. If it's not that. I feel like it might be one of the ones higher up my list.
Well, if it's higher up on your list, then we'll discuss it when it comes round to yours. Okay. But my number 5 is Dr. Sleep.
Let me just consult my list. That is not on my list.
It's not on your list. Okay. So, Dr. Sleep is the latest Mike Flanagan film. I think one of his first that's gone actually to theatrical release. Like, he had a deal with Netflix, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. For Haunting of Hill House.
Yes.
And Haunting of Bly Manor. Which he's only doing one of, I think. One
episode. Directing, but he's done the concept. But also, he did things like... why have they all fallen out of my head? The one with the kid and the dreams. Before I Wake.
Before I Wake, you've done an actual article on this.
It was a while ago.
Before I Wake is
Before
brilliant.
I Wake, Hush.
Gerald's Game. Oculus. Ouija. Origin of Evil.
So I lied, that one was theatrical, but his latest
Gerald's Game.
Gerald's Game was Netflix.
No, Gerald's Game was a theatrical release as well, wasn't it?
Netflix original, I believe.
No.
Yes, maybe.
Anyway, the point I was trying to make
was that it's a Netflix. Yeah, he had a deal with Netflix, so he's come back.
It's another Stephen King.
It is another Stephen King. So we've had Gerald's Game and things, and now we've got this. And obviously, it's the long anticipated in some ways, but also kind of never seen as necessary sequel to The Shining. And poor Flanagan must have had the hardest job in the world to kind of keep King happy, because we know that he wasn't a Shining fan.
He wasn't a Kubrick.
He wasn't a fan of Kubrick's Shining. He did his own TV miniseries version. Keep the fans of the original Kubrick film happy.
Of which there are a few.
Many.
A few.
And then also entertain a new audience who may never have, do you know what I mean, who might not be as aware.
What's it been, 40 years?
Yeah.
Ish?
Yeah, I think it was, maybe 39.
Right, wow.
39, 40 years sort of thing. So, I think this, obviously, we've got Ewan McGregor as Danny, Rebecca Ferguson as Rose the Hat, and Kylie Curran as Abra, who, when you put that much stock into a young leading character in your film, you can go one of many ways, and often that is...
But even the baseball kid, he's been in
Jacob Tremblay.
Is that his name?
Yes.
He's a voice actor in something at the minute, and also is in Good Boys.
Good Boys and The Room.
The Room. He's everywhere.
He is a little star on the rise. He was in Before I Wake. That's why he's in this, because it's a Flanagan film.
Yes, he was in Before I Wake.
Yep.
But he's in quite a lot of big things at the minute.
He is both adorable and ridiculously talented, which is a killer combo. If he keeps that up into his teens...
The Macaulay Culkin combo.
Well, he just needs to not Culkin. No offence to Macaulay Culkin. There was other factors there.
It's not worked out that bad for him.
What was the last big film that... Yeah, it's not worked out that bad for him. His family's doing all right.
He's in Lords of Chaos.
Yeah, but even that, it's like you were in a kind of strange, independent horror movie.
He divorced his parents at 16.
He did. So let's hope that Jacob Tremblay doesn't have to go down that route. Let's hope he's got nice, non-kind of money-grubbing parents. But he is an amazing part of it. And also, that's... Doctor Sleep is so different to The Shining in that it's a lot more emotion-led and things like that. The scares are a lot more psychological. It's a lot more... do you know what I mean? It's kind of more...
Which fits into Michael Flanagan's approach, certainly during The Haunting of Hill House.
It's internal.
I only remember one jump scare in The Haunting of Hill House.
It did its job for the full season. Yeah.
It was terrifying because you're invested. You're emotionally invested in
because
the characters.
You cared. And I did find I cared about Danny. There was moments that were upsetting. Abra as a character was absolutely amazing. But like you say, Jacob Tremblay, that to contrast how internal everything had been to what happens to him in the film, which no spoileries, but was brutal.
Oh yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
No, that was the car scene from Hill House. That was your shit kind of moment. Oh wow.
Oh okay.
But yeah,
this is your one blood scene.
This is eat it up, Gore fans. Eat it the fuck up because that was all you got. And I know because we've discussed this a few times. I know there's mixed opinions on how much time should have been spent at the Overlook and how they treated the Overlook and things.
I honestly think that's the one bit of the film I didn't like. I liked everything up until the fact they got to the Overlook and tried to meld it in with Kubrick's, and it was like, why did you need to do that? You didn't need to. It was going really, really well.
You were doing so good.
Yeah.
But there was part of me that was just like, okay, you could be mad at this, or you could just go, look at that, look at that. Oh, that's the room where they did that. And I was okay with that.
Just member berries.
Yeah.
Nostalgia bubbles.
But
that's all
okay.
it was. I didn't enjoy that bit. I was like, there's a story there that I've not heard before. I've not read it, but I'm quite familiar with the history behind it. And I'm quite familiar that, or I understand, it was relatively close.
It was relatively
apart
close.
From the Overlook
apart
stuff.
From kind of, because
and that
obviously
was the stuff I didn't like.
In the Shining book original,
member berries.
Just member berries. Just take them, crush them with your feet, make me a wine. I'll sup it all day.
It's like that film that was it Spielberg did?
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Member berries.
Oh yeah, but they did an entire
film of member berries.
They did an amazing Shining sequence as well that had my jaw on the floor for that entire thing.
But the whole thing, it just didn't need it. I didn't think it did.
I didn't mind it. I thought
the fact that the Overlook was it burned down at the end of The Shining in the book?
Well, they were tying.
So they must have gone back to the site rather than, or did they not go back there?
No, they do go back. They go back to the site. I did some major research and read the wiki synopsis for that book. Well, the plot.
I did my usual level of research and just guessed, but got to the same answer. So whoop,
there we go.
2 points.
That's like the kid that.
Hey, sport ball.
No, it's the kid that gets an A and goes, I didn't do any studying. And you're like, that's real nice. Go play with traffic.
I was that kid.
Go play with traffic.
She hates me.
But yeah, it was the ending of the book. I like where this went more. The one thing that again, similar to Ma, Rose the Hat, brilliant.
Oh, amazing.
Somehow...
Rebecca Ferguson? Yeah, brilliant.
Somehow you want to be closer to her and further away at the same time. Like, there's a little girl crush going on there, and I want me one of them hats.
Oh, 100%. I mean, your mum's listening to this, but you're getting a hat. It's happening for Christmas.
Hat.
It's on the list.
But yeah, but I think again, what would have made it different in the end if they hadn't have done all the Overlook things, is she wouldn't have just been kind of pushed aside as much.
No, but I liked her as a character, and she was just dismissed as a result of
because of
the Overlook, and it was like, oh, okay.
But I think again that ties into Flanagan's job of having to appease everyone, and what he's done there is corrected the ending of Kubrick's Shining to the original ending of The Shining, and we may get more. We may get more from Abra and things like that.
I kind of don't want it though. I kind of wanted this to be completely divorced from that.
I kind of don't want it because I'm scared it'll get buggered up. But if they promise me that it's Flanagan, then I will devour it, because at the moment that man can do no wrong for me.
No, other than only be doing one episode of the Haunting of Bly Manor.
Direct more Bly Manor.
Do all of them.
We need you.
I mean, he is like the busiest man in Hollywood, but stop being so fucking lazy, man.
So selfish with your time. Think about us.
Do the lot.
So, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Satanic Panic.
So, Satanic Panic. I'm just double checking my list. It's not in my top 5.
Motherfucker! There is no research!
But it's okay, because I have something for you to look at
Sam.
least.
No, it's alright, I got this.
You got this.
Well, in fact, I don't know the director.
Do you want that? Chelsea Stardust.
Wow.
Lady director. I'm all on board. Distant cousin, twice removed.
Satanic Panic. Apparently didn't come out in a feature. Well, did we not see the feature?
It was released at Grimfest.
And
and Fright Fest. But is now available on a lot of VODs, and we bought it because that was one of the ones that was on late night on the first Friday, I think, and we skipped it at Grimfest. I really, really did want to see it, but unfortunately, sleep and work was involved. So we bought it on Blu-ray instead.
We did. We bought it on Blu-ray. It arrived 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yep. We watched it straight away.
We sat and ate some takeaway and watched it, and it was just the best night.
Oh, we really enjoyed it. And,
I loved it.
Yeah, the director is in fact Goldust's daughter, Chelsea Stardust. Based out of London.
Cousin second removed.
Cousin second removed, yeah. There are some names of the cast here that I cannot pronounce, so I'm just going to gloss over it. The main character, Sam, who had the Pact of Sams. The Pact of Sams throughout the film. Basically, a pizza delivery lady on a moped and drives to a remote part of the delivery area where no other pizza delivery person wants to go because they do not tip, and that's a fact. It's the really affluent area, so it costs a load of gas to get there, and they're super stingy with the tips. Gas. But my apologies, it costs a lot in petrol money. Petrol money. So she's Chelsea Stardust. She's from Chelsea and she's Goldust's daughter. Petrol. Leave her. Petrol. So Sam drives over to there. She takes the order on. She needs some money. She's hoping for a tip. Mm-hmm. And she decides, when she doesn't get a tip, to put her foot down to say, you know what? I deserve this tip. Anyway, it ensues that she is a virgin. It's a very personal question. She is a question mark. She is a virgin, and just what the satanic team or cult I would say have ordered, coincidentally, from the pizza delivery people. That's exactly what they needed for their 12-inch hot and spicy and a virgin, please. For their cult little exercise. I can't remember what an exercise is called. Cult religion. So they're doing a ritual. That's the cult little ritual. They're doing their cult ritual to continue to get their wealth. They get their wealth through Satan, which is how I imagine most wealthy people get their wealth. Like, to be a billionaire, how it works, you have to have had some kind of like awkward handshake with Satan. Yeah, and it continues the theme of this year's main priority in horror films. Of basically, it is classist. Yeah. Rich people suck a dick. Nice. The genre has just gone, classist. Yeah. That's what we're doing this year. The full genre has just gone, do you know who suck? Rich people. Yeah. And that is, I think, we get like a montage of poor Sam. She just wants to make some money. And we get a montage of her just being screwed over for the tip, being made to do things like moving a couch. She gets someone's dead husband's jumper that smells as a tip. And absolutely. But throughout this, I think a lot of the beats are kind of horror-esque. There's a bit of gore, a bit of blood. There's a bit of fighting, a bit of action. But ultimately, there's some underlying, like, kind of tongue-in-cheek
social
humour
commentary.
There. Yeah, and tongue-in-cheek humour. For it's not as like in your face as a comedy horror, like a scary movie or something like that. It is a horror film with some very dry humour to it. Almost like a kind of What We Do in the Shadows type affair. And that was really appreciated.
It's a horror first, but with a belting script.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like, the characters are actually developed. Like, we see multiple female characters, and it's amazing that all of them have their own personality. They're all very, very different people.
I never noticed.
Yeah, I didn't think you would. So there's the blonde and the brunette, and then...
Sporty one. There's a ginger one. There's a black one. It's scary.
So, no, it's not the Spice Girls.
Okay.
But it is that kind of... They really do develop it well, and there's a lot of humour in the script, a lot of twists and turns, and then the ending is just... I'm not going to say anything about it, but the ending is absolutely insane. Demons and rabbits and rituals, oh my.
Oh, shit! No, I've just realised the film I missed off my top 5! Damn it!
Oh no, I
From the
think I know
description of the
what
ending.
it is.
Motherfucker!
We have time to change.
No,
But
I
you'd
told
have
you
to
I'm not
drop
going
one.
to change. I
You'd
told
have
you
to
I'm not
drop
going to change, but
one.
I'm going to have to drop one.
Okay.
Oh, motherfucker. If I'd have known before I did more, I'd have dropped it. Well, it's done now. Anyway, crack on. Yeah, the ending was good, like.
Yeah.
In a bit. Number 4 on yours.
So if it's any higher on yours, we'll do it on yours. But my number 4 was Ready or Not.
Ooh, it is higher on mine.
Okay, well, we'll leave that then. Let's go to your number 3.
My number 3 is Us.
Us. We're going to leave that because it's higher on my list.
Ooh.
So is it my number 3?
Your number 3.
My number 3. Extraordinary.
Motherfucker! That is the one that I forgot about, which is amazing.
Oh no.
Amazing.
Is that where you thought the rabbits?
Yes.
I thought you'd left off Us, because that's also... Okay, new theme. It's not about the rich. Horror is real into rabbits right now.
Rabbits.
Rabbits. So, you've not got Extraordinary
I do
on
not
your
have
list.
Extraordinary in there, but it was my favourite film at Grimfest.
It was my favourite.
By far. It was the audience's favourite film at Grimfest.
It was, yeah.
And it won the audience award.
Yeah.
And I just think I've missed a trick there, because the list that I was given just said Grimfest, and I forgot about it.
Oh, I didn't spell it out for you. It's all my fault.
Technically, it's your fault.
Oh, my fault, people.
Yeah. But it is by far should be in my top 5, and it should take the place of none of the films, because I've already agreed not to do that. Anyway,
we're gonna still, but it's on my list, so it means we can still talk about it.
We can still.
The same way I'm happy that Satanic Panic made your top 5 and things, and Mark, because then we can still talk about them.
Yep.
So, Extraordinary was directed by Micah Hearn and Enda Lohman. We've got Maeve Higgins as Rose, Barry Ward as Martin, and Will Forte as Christian, the washed-up rock band, rock star. And we did a big discussion on this one on the Grimfest, so I don't want to just keep rehashing that. But it is, in all honesty, one of the most genuinely funny, sweetest kind of horror films I've ever seen. While still, like... It's still horror. It has to be horror. It still has that. There may not be big jumps and things like that, but I think there was maybe one jump that got me, because I was so kind of debilitated by how funny it was, that when they did like a silly pop-up jump scare, I was nearly on the edge of screaming, because they fooled me. They fooled me into believing I was safe.
The whole film, just the tone of it throughout the entire way was just fantastic. So easy to just kind of fall into, and just so perfectly British.
Yeah, like I say,
so
it had
perfectly
that
Irish
kind
very
of
Father
comedy.
Ted-esque.
Yeah, really nostalgic kind of feel to it. Like, the videos had a 70s, 80s vibe, but you still couldn't quite
Marengi's dark place.
Garth Marenghi, 100%. And really rewatchable. I think that's the thing. Like, sometimes you can have a really good horror film, but you kind of going, like we did with Hereditary, where it's like, I will rewatch you in 2 years once the trauma has ended.
Yeah.
With Extraordinary, I think I had that on like an Amazon watch list as soon as...
Is it actually released? Yeah.
There is a DVD release in Germany.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so you can have it, but no, you can buy it off Amazon, but all the writing on the... It's a German edition, but you could obviously just watch it with English dubbing, well, with original English. So it is available, but just...
I have just triple checked that on the UK Just Watch app, and there is literally there's no streaming offer at all.
It is,
and no cinema ticket. Yet its Rotten Tomatoes rating is
100%. Yes, it is.
That is unbelievable. Well, it is believable because it is believable,
brilliant. But also not to poo-poo on that 100%. But I think there might be like 5 critics.
I don't give a shit. Those 5 critics are correct.
They are 100% correct with their 100%. It is. It's so interesting. It's such a different little concept. The characters are amazing because they're not just stock characters, and you really love them and feel for them. And this ending is spectacular as well. Like, I dare to say the fastest lovemaking scene I ever done seen.
Yeah. And they a lot of kind of Derry Girls influence as well. A lot of the actresses from Derry Girls as well. So if you are big into your kind of in-betweeners, Garth Marenghi, Derry Girls, mixed with your kind of horror genre.
So good.
Oh, it's brilliant.
What is your number 2?
Number 2 is Ready or Not.
Ready or Not. So that was my number 4.
It was your number 4.
It was my number 4.
Wait, what was your number 3? Extraordinary.
Yeah. So we're back. We're doubling back.
This is really complicated for a simple system. But carry on.
I don't think it's that complicated.
Let's just keep going.
It's fine.
Let's just keep
the people get it. They're smart.
I don't get it.
It's just you that don't get it.
It's ridiculous.
We're going to start doing that to your speakers. Stop it. So, tell me about Ready or Not then. So you put it as your number 2.
So, Ready or Not, another classist film. Huge.
Definitely got that kind of theme again, hasn't it? Of the, as they say in the film, the rich really are different, which is a bit on the nose, but gets the point across.
But Samara Weaving, who plays Grace, is marrying into a family of, I suppose, monopolised game manufacturers, board game manufacturers.
A board game dynasty.
A board game dynasty. Okay,
is I believe how they describe it.
Okay.
They don't make Monopoly though.
Called the Damas's, Le Damas.
Le Domas.
Who basically have an awful lot of money from selling board games. Subsequently, the child of the family decides to marry Samara Weaving. Grace, yeah. And that is Mark O'Brien, who plays Alex Ladomas.
Yes.
And who it transpires has run away from the family wealth and met Samara Weaving during his life away from that, and they've subsequently lived together and are due to get married. He's now been...
This is her first meeting of the family.
This is, yeah. It's the first meeting of the family, and they have a particular set of skills.
I will find you.
And I will play games, parlour games.
And we shall play parlour games.
That's it. So... she, on the eve of her wedding, instead
they've been married. They've
just got married. You see that play out. On the eve of their wedding, they must play a parlour game to ease the... what's his name? Ra's al Ghul?
No, that's Batman. To appease there's some
Beelzebub?
demon-y god thing. I can't remember his name. Betamax. The demon god of VHS tapes.
What is his name?
Oh, I can't remember, darling.
Mr. Brightside.
Yes.
It will come back to me. It begins with B.
Well, they need to appease... It was someone that they made a deal with to get all of that wealth, because we know full well that board games ain't actually... you're not making an empire off that. Board games nowadays are Kickstarter projects that maybe take off a little bit, and Cards Against Humanity, that kind of thing.
Yeah, why can I not remember this guy's name?
Belial?
That's the one. LaBale.
So we've got Ladomas and LaBale.
These French motherfuckers. So, yes. So, they have to play a parlour game of random select.
Yes.
In order to please Mr. LaBale, who it transpires that the great-great-granddaddy has done a deal with...
Yeah, many moon ago,
in order to ensure the family wealth.
Wealth and prosperity, yeah.
And prosperity. So, anyway, they get married, they do the thing, there's an angry woman there, she stares at him a bit, and it gets... Anti-starey face.
Anti-axe face.
Axe face. Yeah, and it turns into a very, very fun, light-hearted film throughout it, but with so much horror aspects to it as well. So many jump scares, so much gore, so much... It's just a very pretty film.
It is ridiculous. Like, this is... Samara Weaving is a horror darling now. Between the babysitter and this, we've adopted her. She is one of us now. She will forever be.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I just think she was brilliant. There's horror, but funny moments. Really good ensemble cast. Like...
Yeah, the guy from the OC.
Yeah, the dude from the OC, who now might be known as the dude from Ready or Not. Yeah, at least to me. I've watched that more times than the OC.
I've never really seen the OC, but I know he's the guy from the OC.
So Adam Brody.
Was he also in that film with that guy?
Do you know what? He probably was from that year.
Yeah,
that production company.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shazam.
He was. He played. Boom!
You take the piss. Boom! She comes back with facts.
He is
knowledge bombs.
The same as like Zachary Levi being the older version of one of the kid characters. Adam Brody plays the older Shazam superhero version. Well done. Very good knowledge. I'm proud of you.
Cheers. I really like condescending. That's my favourite.
But yeah, I think it was a really, really fun... Like, we went to the cinema to see it.
We did.
And that kind of made it as well. Like, I laughed.
I think a lot of people... What was interesting was a lot of people laughed in different places. Even the coked up sister-in-law.
Oh my god, she's my favourite.
Who just randomly killed people throughout
Why
the
am
film.
I so useless?
Killed the help. Randomly killed the help throughout the film.
She killed all the help.
It was so perfectly timed. It broke up the seriousness of the film.
And her chunky husband, like, Googling how
do I use a crossbows? How do I use crossbows?
No,
ancient tech.
It is really just... Again, light-hearted, but some scenes as well that are just going to be iconic, I think. Like, that ending shot is just possibly one of my favourite visuals from horror films now. And I want a torn-up bloody wedding dress with a pair of Converse.
Is that the one where she sat on the step?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just my favourite thing in the world.
Yeah.
I think if I could get a wedding photographer to recreate that with Photoshop, I'll be a very happy bunny.
Well, let's see how it goes. 2.5 years time.
See what happens. It's on my list.
Mum wouldn't approve. So let's do it.
Let's do it. So does that move on to my number 2 then?
Your number 2.
My number 2 is Midsommar.
Oh, I've got it higher up.
You got it higher up?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your number 2?
I've already done my number 2. I'm on my number 1.
Oh, okay.
I found a flaw in your system.
No, it's fine. So,
what's your number 2?
So what's your number 1?
Well, that's pretty easy to work out given the position we're in right now. You can't do number 2s. You can't do number 1s before your number 2.
My number 2 is Midsommar, so you've got it higher on your list. So
game,
what's your number 1?
This game is bullshit. What's your number 2 then?
Midsommar! Stop making me yell on the podcast.
My number 1 is Midsommar.
Woo!
Alright.
Okay, let's talk about Midsommar.
Totally practiced that.
So, tell me about Midsommar.
There's a person in this field, there's some mushrooms and shit, but something happens in a triangle.
Oh, you are a triangle.
You are a triangle.
So, Midsommar, as it maybe is better pronounced, is the second feature film from Ari Aster.
Who directed that one beginning with H.
Hereditary.
Don't talk over me. I know where I was going. Hereditary. That one beginning with H.
Yeah. Just press the alphabet button on the speak and spell, and it might come to that word eventually.
Hereditary. Second feature film from the director of Hereditary, Ari Aster.
Yes.
A lot of expectation.
Oh, so much expectation.
A lot of hype
Mm-hmm.
about this film. A lot of brightness on the screen.
All sun, all the time.
All sun, all the time. Controversial, given the nature of the film.
Different, yeah.
And definitely one that intrigued a lot of people to go and see at the cinema, I think. I don't actually know how it performed.
I am not sure how it performed. I feel like a lot of people expecting a kind of swanky indie film walked into Midsommar and were like, what in the cock is this? Because the way it was sold, it wasn't necessarily, unless you knew Ari Aster, you not necessarily would have seen it as a horror film. So I feel like that distinct silence we got in our cinema was people that were like, I thought I was seeing an arts film. Why has that man just been hit in the head by a giant hammer? And I enjoy that. I enjoy tricking people into watching. Why?
Didn't know there were 3 C's in why.
There's 3 C's in what I'm going to call you. But I think there was a bit of it didn't stand out as horror when you first kind of saw some of it, but having watched Hereditary, you were just there going, I'm waiting for it, come on.
I think there's some stark differences between Hereditary and this, and one of which is the kick in the face in Hereditary came a good 40 minutes in, half an hour in, where the main characters got removed, or certainly the main character in the
who we were told was the main character from the marketing.
The trailers, the marketing just got removed from the equation entirely, which I thought was the physical appearance of said.
It's all complicated without trying to spoil it too much.
So the interesting thing with this was that you got that shock at the start, effectively, certainly within the first 10-15 minutes, and that was so bleak.
I did not know what to do with myself. I did not know where to put myself. I didn't know if I loved it or wanted to cry and leave at that moment. I think that made me love it more in a morbid way.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
If anything can make you feel uncomfortable within a half an hour, it's an Ari Aster film, apparently.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
So I love that bit. I think basically after that it turned into Shrooms but good.
Shrooms but artsy.
Yeah, Shrooms but good and artsy. Yeah, and he did an absolutely fantastic job of making you feel spaced out. Whilst not being spaced out. You were there, you understood where it was going. I'm fairly convinced, and I have not. We own the Midsommar Blu-ray.
We've
director's
not watched
cut,
it yet, but I need to see that director's commentary. Not commentary, director's edition.
Director's cut. But I'm fairly convinced that when the guy jumps off the cliff and he falls down,
gives you a little look.
I am sure that one of the individuals of the cult breaks the fourth wall. I am so convinced. I laughed out loud in the cinema because I was like,
which made me
I honestly believe that it was him turning round, looking at the camera and saying, You think I'm not going to do this? It was like a dare to the audience. I laughed so much during that bit. Nobody else in the cinema laughed.
No.
But I am fairly confident that actually happened.
But
I am not 100% convinced.
We will rewatch it. To be honest, I think we had very varying reactions to our... This is why I think they'd come to the wrong film. Because the only other time... And they did eventually start laughing with us, but during the awkward, manipulated sex scene, hands on the butt, hands on the butt, we were instantly laughing, and it took the rest of the audience, like, they were kind of going, when's the horror hitting? We're like, no, this is the horror. This is it.
Yeah, this entire scenario has been built up since the start, since you saw them walk past the little tapestry. Yeah, 100%.
And I do think it was just...
What do they call that angel thing as well? What's that when it's they take the lungs out through the back?
Oh, I did see that.
Is it a blood angel?
A blood angel. It's like a Viking.
That was pretty grotesque, but I also thought, wow, there's elements of it that I just thought, because it is so bright, because it is
full of flowers, so it's kind of pretty.
Yeah, a lot of it was like, oh, this is what you can do with a human, and they can still live. Oh, that's interesting. But also now I sound like a psycho.
But that's
just hearing me say it out loud, hearing my own voice just going, oh yeah, you're a bit weird.
If we don't have a podcast in 2 weeks, you know that I have been blood angel by my partner. I just wanted to see what happened.
I just asked for a sandwich.
Yeah, blood angeled. This is, but like, speaking of relationships, that was the next point I was going to get to, because I listened to a few things after it, and it was so fun to listen to how, obviously it's a gender thing, it's an opinion thing, but a lot of male...
vast contrast between the sexes of their opinion of this.
Yeah, a lot of male kind of commentators on it were like, oh, it was a bad relationship, I could see it from both sides, and I'm just sat there going, that guy's a dick. Like, I know she was a very, very needy girlfriend, but needy because of what happened is acceptable. He a dick.
No, 100% I'm in the he a dick camp.
Cool.
On the basis that...
And I've not got, like, a hold of anything precious. He's not under duress while saying this.
No, 100%. I would blood angel you in the morning. But 100% he was a dick. Because if that was the situation, why not just say something?
Yeah.
Instead, let's go to fucking Sweden. Is it Sweden?
It is Sweden.
Yeah, let's go to Sweden. Let's enjoy a lack of communication with the outside world where there are other support systems.
Yeah.
Let's just rely on that. Oh, by the way, let's just take some mind-altering drugs.
Why don't I just mildly pressure you into doing shrooms after the devastating loss you've gone through?
Yeah, let's follow this guy.
Yeah, no, he Christian deserved to be in the bear, as far as my opinion goes. But I do, and also we need to rewatch it, because I did not notice in the cinema, I'm not going to pretend I was smart and observant enough, but there are some like Haunting of Hill House moments where her sister's in the background.
Oh, really?
During like the ceremony where she's becoming the May Queen or whatever, there apparently are some flashes of her sister with a hose pipe in her mouth in the background.
I did not notice that.
I didn't either. So again, we are going to sit down and Blu-ray this, but I feel I need a little bit more time. So leading us swiftly on from Midsummer, which was our second kind of horror auteur of 2019, I'm throwing out Flanagan, Aster, and then the third to this triangle of awesome directors who I have much love but also high expectations for, leads us to my number one film, which was your number... Do I need to check your list? Number 3? It was your number 3 film. Us by Jordan Peele. Jodie Peele. So, Lex, how do you enjoy... From the sketch.
It's from the sketch.
It's from the Key and Peele sketch. And I'm a teacher, so I said your name wrong. Oh, look at how little support I'm getting for this.
Aaron.
I also, side note, home purchasing. When I was looking for the cool pillow covers for like Get Out and Us, I just typed in Jordan Peele, and you can get a pillow cover that is just, oh, you done messed up now, AA Ron. And I feel like we kind of need that. So just as a mingle in between, like some Shining, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman pillows, we'll just have, you done messed up now, AA Ron.
Yes.
Yeah? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So, Us, directed by Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele.
Starring Lupita
Nyong'o.
Second horror film of 2019. She did Us and Little Monsters.
Little Monsters.
She is
very good. Very
now
funny.
Also. So again, that's what I didn't mention for Midsummer. So we've got the triangle of amazing directors, but we also have the triangle of amazing women. Because I am in love with Florence Pugh, Samara Weaving, and Lupita Nyong'o.
Is it Nyong'o or Nyong'o?
Nyong'o, possibly.
I don't actually know.
Lupita, the angel she is. So those are my three of my big lady picks of the year as well, for just being absolutely amazing in horror. Us is similar to Midsummer in that it's classified as a sophomore film. So the second kind of, you've got your freshman and sophomore. There's some terms for this.
I don't understand Americans.
Shush. It's the sophomore film of Jordan Peele. So as with our expectations from Mr. Astor, we were highly anticipating what was coming our way, considering the amazing film that was Get Out. And I would say it lives up to being the right amount of social commentary. Less scary than Get Out, but more funny.
Certainly a more of a slow burn.
Yes.
I think than Get Out. Get Out had, yes, it had a twisty twist.
Mm-hmm.
But Us, I think, was more, I'm going to say telegraphed, but by a long way, because it certainly wasn't telegraphed, but it felt a lot more structured.
It didn't so much matter the twist, because the story was what it was. Like, with Get Out, you're waiting till that moment to find out why these people are being so weird. With this, you may have guessed what was going on with Adelaide's character, but it didn't matter because you still just wanted to see how the hell that worked out in the end.
Yeah.
And, this guy's made a dissertation film. Like, every film university lecturer is just going, and it's another long essay on the meaning behind Us and the symbolism, and there's just so many. It's a horror lover's dream. Like, all the references in it, the Goonies, the Jaws t-shirt, Chud, the son Jason wearing a mask like Jason, and it's a Wolfman mask, and the opening that's like The Shining, and then the creepy twins that are like The Shining.
Yep.
The 11:11, like it
is that a passage? 11:11.
The 11 Jeremiah 11:11. It's the time at one point. It's the score of a baseball match.
Yeah.
It's part of the ambulance.
Scraped on his head. At one point, is it the homeless guy?
Oh, the homeless guy who was the first.
Is it on his head or his chest, or is it on a board?
I think it's on his board, isn't it? And then he's killed, and we've not even, like, I assume you all know Us, the kind of, I don't think we've synopsized any of these, but
spoilers.
but it's not, because I think there's too much going on with this to spoil it by just saying, there's a homeless man who's dead. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think it was just beautifully crafted and really interesting characters, and the skill of every last one of these actors. So, like Lupita, Winston Duke, and things like that, to play dual characters.
Oh yeah.
The
way they
and the children.
There's such a stark difference between the tethered and the real people. Realies.
Yeah, the realies, the above ground and the below ground, the haves and the have-nots.
Exactly.
And that. Because again, you could even, like we've been saying, that theme of class system comes into that as well. This idea of those that are allowed and those that aren't, those that are classified as non-citizens, and we're Americans. What does that mean? And I want to write a dissertation on this, but like really happily.
I can't write.
He can't read and he can't write, but he's really easy on the eye, so don't worry about me, guys.
But I smell like Trumps.
He do smell like Trumps more often than not. Peel is definitely a horror enthusiast, but also kind of one that has cut his teeth writing comedy, which means that he is perfect because he writes things that have to elicit a reaction. If someone doesn't jump during horror, you fucked up. If someone doesn't laugh during comedy, you fucked up. Anything else, you can kind of, if someone does an action during action, do you know what I mean?
It's not action.
It's not action. Yeah. Whereas horror and things, you can try and fail a bit more. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's given him that kind of voice in the way that he does things. Like, there were so many little moments in this that were hilarious.
Yeah, there's loads of bits that are hilarious. I think what's interesting to see, when I got up in the morning, I put a YouTube video on, and it's usually Key and Peele.
Yes.
There's... it's just free YouTube stuff, so it's not the full series, and I haven't seen the full series of what they produced, but
of their sketches
there are so many overlaps with the sketches that he's done. The mirror room that's now used in Us.
Oh yeah, that was one. Am I over here? Am I over here?
Am I over here? But I am a mirror person.
There is a fine line between those two as genres, but the two genres
Usually.
that
That's why it melds really, really well. The horror comedy genre, the comedy horror genre, depending on which way you look at it, or depending on which film you're looking at.
I think, because sometimes you're watching a comedy horror, sometimes you're watching a horror comedy, and I think it just depends where they fall. Because I wouldn't say that this is a horror comedy, I would say that it has comedy.
Absolutely. It's a horror film.
It's a horror film.
It's a horror film at heart.
But then there are moments like the keys under the stone, kind of white people bullshit is this,
exactly.
that we found hilarious. And what was the other one? There was another moment.
Sound of the police. Call the police.
Ophelia, call the police. Playing Fuck the Police. Yes, Ophelia. There's just moments in it that are so... When the family are having an argument about their kill count. And it's that kind of idea again of just... It's really funny, but it's also kind of how you would like to imagine these things would happen. Like, fucked up, weird stuff would happen, but when you felt a little bit safe, you'd revert to humour to deal with that. And
I think in certain scenarios, it's the only place you can do it.
Yeah,
it's
the doors are locked in this car. Let's laugh through this pain. And
it's why a lot of comedians do really well in war times, though, like Iraq, and you're going over there and
you're a comedian. You're here to lighten the mood and make us feel something. And I adore this film. And again, we watched it in the cinema. I think we watched it again. I watched it on the plane on the way to Disney World. Because, you can be a Disney princess and a horror freak at the same time.
I don't think I watched this. I can't think what I watched instead. I watched quite a lot of films.
There was It. It was on there as well. I feel like you watched It. But I also... it was 8 hours both ways. We watched so many films.
We did.
There was a few that I started and stopped. I won't go into them because being negative. If we're negative to a film, it's mostly just we're not reviewing it. That's the most negative I want to get. Is just if I didn't like it, I won't talk about it.
Oh, notice how It Chapter 2 isn't on these lists.
It Chapter 2 is on my longer list.
Yeah, I was just saying it's just not on the 5. I'm not surprised by that because I didn't enjoy it that much, and there wasn't a magic space turtle.
There was no magic druggy space turtle. There was no Tim Curry. But no, I think...
There are many flaws, and those two are...
Those are the main
Although
ones.
there was one positive, and we are talking about us right now, but I'm going to take it aside. The fat kid in It 1...
Mm-hmm. Ben...
related to the older fit kid, or fit adult.
Oh, really?
No, but they're not actually related.
Oh, right.
But they look like they could actually be the same person.
It does look like he has revenge skinny, doesn't it?
They just are the same person.
Yeah, but all of them, I think they did. It Chapter 2 may not have hit as well as It Chapter 1 for me. But I think that's because It Chapter 2 has the harder story to tell.
Yeah, but
but the casting was mentally good.
What is his name?
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader. brilliant.
Oscar for that, man.
Oh, sign him up. But in fairness, it's the same as what's her face from Hereditary that should have got it.
Toni Collette
Who should have got it, and she won't get it. She didn't get it, but she should have got it.
We'll do our own Oscars because Lupita is getting an Oscar for Us.
Yep.
And Bill Hader is getting an Oscar for It Chapter 2. In my head.
Yeah, and Toni Collette should get an Oscar.
Toni Collette is getting an honourable mention, and she's going to stand up on stage with Lupita and Florence and Samara Weaving, and I'm going to die inside a little bit.
No, I watched
but in the best way.
I watched Imperium.
I'm going to Photoshop myself into
Imperium the other day, which is with Daniel Radcliffe and Toni Collette. And Toni Collette plays like a hard detective that's kind of out of it. And she was mint.
And I do like Harry Potter doing non-Harry Potter stuff as well.
Harry Potter being a white supremacist. Right, we've gone way off.
We've gone off. We went nuts.
Us.
But
Us
that
is
was
a film that exists.
Us was my number one. So let's just... Us was my number one. What was your number... Your number one was Midsommar.
My number one was Midsommar,
so
100%.
At the tops of our list are Midsommar and Us.
Oh, I have a special mention.
You have a special mention.
My special mention is the best scene in a horror film that I saw this year.
Okay, throw that
at me.
And that
film is from a film... that scene is from a film called Darling.
Darling. I know what the scene is. Tell me about the scene.
So if you've not seen Darling, not heard of Darling, it is the sequel to The Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot remember her name, but she was lovely when we met her.
Pollyanna
McIntosh. Pollyanna McIntosh.
She's also on my stage with these other women.
Yeah, Pollyanna McIntosh in The Woman is basically... how do you say it? Stig of the dump.
She's a feral lady.
She's feral.
She's a feral
is
lady.
A brilliant way of putting it.
Stig of the dump is me when I've not washed my hair for a while.
Yes. Captain Caveman.
Captain Caveman.
So Pollyanna McIntosh in The Woman is effectively feral and a family, or rather a hunting dad and son find her in the woodlands and capture her. The father keeps
the dad's
her...
going to try and do like an Eliza Doolittle, like a My Fair Lady on this feral woman, but really he's just a creepazoid and deserves eating. Yeah,
so it turns out that she doesn't like being captured and in turn destroys the family matriarch. And the woman that comes... family structure, and the girl that is taken away by her at the end and raised by her is little Darling.
Yes.
This film follows Darling.
Yes.
Who basically has been raised as a feral child by the woman.
But has like 4 years youth, 4 or 5 years youth of actually like human. So she can
communicate to an extent. She's lost a bit of it.
Yeah.
But she can come back to it. And the woman, Darling becomes pregnant, and the woman realises that she's become pregnant and delivers her to a hospital because she can't give her the help that she needs. And subsequently, Darling goes through this educational process, Catholic boarding school / kind of orphanage,
home for wayward girls,
and effectively the woman still cares for Darling and still keeps her eye over her. And what is his name? He's in The Walking Dead and he's brilliant. Anthony Cooper, and he is so good in The Walking Dead and also this.
He's just lovely.
But anyway, the scene in the film...
Cooper Andrews,
close enough.
Cooper Andrews.
But the scene in this film that is by far the standout film scene of the year is so simple. It is the woman being introduced to Cooper Andrews in a car driving...
She's never been in a car.
She's never been in a car. She doesn't understand what's going on. And Pollyanna McIntosh just destroys this scene. It's so funny. It's just the perfect snapshot of like a perfectly dry, slow building film to just chaos.
Hilarious, yeah. He's trying to drive and she's trying to sit on. She's basically like a hyper dog in the car.
That's exactly.
She's like trying to sit on his knee and she's trying to get too close to him because she's scared. And then in the next scene, she's got these amazing like Ray-Ban sunglasses on. She's got hair down to her fucking knees and she's just got her head out the window, just lapping in the wind. And just the idea, because obviously this was. Pollyanna starred in The Woman, but she directed and like kind of had more influence on this one.
The director of the Woman passed away, didn't he?
It's either the director or the author.
Oh yeah, no, the
author passed away. The director is still alive because we made this mistake on another episode. And I had to delete it. It's like, oh, he's not dead. But it was just to put something like that into it. This ever building kind of. The system and all this horrible stuff, and then it's just hair, just with like slow-mo head out of a window, like this is the best thing ever. And honestly, I would watch that on loop. So brilliant choice.
There we go.
Brilliant choice. I do not have a best scene. I'm racking my brain at the moment to try and think of one, but...
You can do all the research you want, but I'm a legend. I just fucking come up with it.
Swoops in. Like that kid that doesn't revise and gets an A. That is you, and we're going to fall out. But, yeah, 2019, amazing year for horror.
Yeah.
There's a few we have missed that I'm sure are on other people's list, but we live in the UK and some of those have not come to us yet. But next year we will be getting The Lighthouse.
Want to see that.
And In Fabric. But I have added In Fabric, it's available on DVD. So we can watch that one.
Okay.
It has come out now.
There's another one, but I can't remember what it is that I want to watch.
Nightingale.
High
Life. Daniel isn't real.
Am I basically just listing films with Robert Pattinson in?
Yeah, I think you are. See, High Life, I think, is one that we just didn't get released here.
Yeah, I don't think it exists.
I don't think it exists in the UK. And that is a problem sometimes, but
I've heard really good things about it. We
get over it and we do a mid-2020 list.
Yeah.
Let's do a retrospective mid-2020 list of all the 2019s we missed. That's what we're going to do.
It's actually 2018.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I saw it on a 2019 list. But is this a bit like Tigers Are Not Afraid, which is on everyone's 2019 list, but was on my list last year because we saw it at Grimfest? Maybe it has had general release then.
It's £2.49 on something called Chili, whatever that is.
Let's watch it on Chili.
What is Chili?
I don't know, but we could download it and find out.
I pressed the button, it's taking loads of time.
Oh, don't press the button. Oh, you're on a watch list now.
I don't want to purchase it until I've fucking heard of it.
Okay, we are now just rambling. This is like when you stand in the hallway and the goodbye is longer than the actual interaction.
Tea time, motherfuckers.
My last little special shout out to 2019 is the documentary Horror Noir. Documentary.
Wow, that feels like ages ago. Is that this year?
I hope it is. I feel like it was.
Wow.
But that was... It was just such a big event, wasn't it? It's a 2019. It was in February. Wow. That's why it feels like forever ago. But it was such a big event to bring into horror. Obviously, I love a good documentary because I'm a geek to all of it. Tony Todd, but bringing a voice to a side of horror that doesn't always get the kind of commandments that it should do, but it was just so interesting.
2019 has been so focused. I know we've talked about class, but race as well.
Race, but I think that comes in. There's a big part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the two often go hand in hand in the commentary that is made. But
Lupita Nyong'o twice in a year
leading lady. Yeah.
In Us and in Little Monsters. Octavia Spencer. Who's been huge in the industry.
I think that's what's been great about horror. Like I said at the beginning, kind of 2015 onwards, we've come out of our awkward teen stages in the 2000s when all we wanted to do was listen to new metal and think of new ways to hurt people.
Oh my god, Queen of the Damned is so good.
Queen of the Damned. And we've come into this kind of age now where horror is once again being so reflective of things, but also in a world gone mad, it's fun. Horror has gone so fun.
It's so inclusive as well. I don't think there's that I don't think there's other kind of genre films out there that
pushing as much
are pushing
as horror
as much
is.
in female roles or directors.
Yep.
Or you know from a diversity background. I don't think there's that. I mean, you could argue Black Panther to an extent.
Well, it's more
to an extent. I mean, massively Black Panther. But,
it was huge, but it's more that.
But within a genre generally,
yeah,
it's very inclusive.
Horror is doing it without kind of going, but did you see what we did?
Yeah.
Did you see? Like, horror is doing it without going, we made a ladies Ghostbusters. Like, horror is doing it without as much backlash, because I feel like a lot of the horror community is going, well, of course. Why would I complain? Because we are so happy to see these different things and these different stories.
What was the film we saw at Grimfest that was transgender? It was
Tales from the Lodge.
Tales from the Lodge.
Yeah.
You know, and nobody bats an eyelid.
No.
It's a fantastic film. Mackenzie Crook.
Johnny Vegas.
Oh, what's the lady from what's it called?
I don't know.
Very annoying.
We're going so off topic.
Yeah,
we're going to stop rambling at you.
We're ranting.
Thank you so much for listening.
Cheers, Diz.
If you are interested in more content like this, or that 16 strong list that is eventually going to come your way,
don't bother.
Rude. Please head over to bombshellsandblueshells.com, which is the website where we write articles and lists and fun commentaries and things like that. If you would like to follow us on any social media, I am at Bombshells and Blueshells on Facebook and Instagram, and at bblueshells on Twitter. You are at
32-bit fives.
32-bit fives on Twitter and Instagram. No Facebook. Don't look for him on Facebook.
I don't exist.
He does not exist on Facebook.
He does not exist.
We're slowly expanding the platforms that we're on as far as a podcast. And what will really help with that is a little like, a little subscribe, maybe a little review. As long as it's good. Only. Yeah, 5 stars only. No, I'll lower the bar, but
got a certain set of skills.
Constructive criticism only. Don't just say we suck. Tell us how we can stop sucking. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you in a couple of weeks. Bye.